All right, what's up, folks? Here we are, episode 8, if I remember correctly. We got a action-packed, of course, show for you today, and thank you to everyone who's tuning in live. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I could not make it today to Tampa. Well, someone that I love dearly, unfortunately, had an accident, and because of the accident, on her foot, thankfully, she is okay. Is the reason why I am live from Tampa Joe's. So I am back home here at the home studio for today. Next week, we'll be back out there again. But again, one of these sponsorships, of course, is Tampa Joe's. So Tampa Joe's, again, thank you so much for being the sponsor of the show. We're going to be talking about the recap of last week and what it was as far as week 1. No one saw that one coming. Maybe Mike Sherman did, because he did say his prediction. So maybe Mike Sherman knew something that the rest of us didn't know. But again, last week, we're going to be talking about what the Eagles did and didn't do, the miscues, the mishaps. Just, it's going to be action-packed. I can tell you that much. But thanks again, everybody, tuning in. We will be back again after the first half. So the halftime show, once again, if you guys don't mind tuning back in, we do appreciate it. So with that all being said, I am your host, Angel, of Broad Street Style Sports Talk, and let's get the show going underway. And of course, my co-host that I truly love dearly, he will be bringing the hype as well, because he was just quite as fired up as I was last week. So the funny thing is that we had an off-air camera. You guys would have had a great time because he was quite fired up last week. But without further ado, here is my co-host, Mike Fuji. Mike, how are you, Mike?
Good. Football Sunday, week 2. Birds and Rams going head to head. Let's get fired up. BAGLES. Eagles.
Let's get it done. Let's hope that we get the W this week, because last week was quite the week. It was quite the week. A lot of us didn't see it. I just made the comment not too long ago, and I see a comment coming up here shortly. I will bring it up. But Mike Sherman apparently knew something that the rest of us didn't, because we were all looking at as far as what the scores would end up being. Predictions were high, some were low. I can't remember. I think I'm almost certain that Sherman said 3-10. I'm almost certain, but I'm not too sure. Either way, it was basically a disastrous week for the Birds and the way they ended up starting off. So just don't know exactly what the Eagles were thinking. The first coming here, I'm sorry, I don't know who the Facebook user is, but was good. Well, we hope that this week we're a lot better than we were last week. And hopefully Birds will stay awake the whole game. Yeah, let's just hope. Thomas Fogarty, once again, what's up, Thomas? Tom, I'm sorry. I met him last week, and he said they'll call him Tom. So, Tom, thanks again for the comments. You guys coming on. You have a little feedback because you break up a lot. Is the audio bad? I can't tell, because obviously I'm just listening to my own ears. So if the audio seems bad, you guys let me know, because I can't, unfortunately, I can't tell from the feed itself.
Sounds good on mine.
But looking in from this week, it was just, again, one of those things that my producer gave it a thumbs up, so it seems like the audio is good. Looking at from last week, and we're going to show, of course, the highlights here from last week, and we'll do a breakdown. I ended up having the week that it wasn't. There was a lot of hype going into the game, but also a lot of things we did talk about last week, which was that Carson Wentz was a little upset with the O-line, saying that he wasn't well protected. And with 8 sacks, we did see, obviously, that was the case. The line just wasn't there for him. I don't know what fell apart. I mean, there was a lot of, obviously, conversations that we'll hear later on from Carson himself with Dave Spadaro, with what happened, what didn't happen, and what can he do better. The only thing I didn't like much before we get into the clips here is that he started to sound, and you and I both talked to Jimmy Seltzer yesterday on Go Birds. He sounded and started sounding similarly like number 5 will always love you. And I don't think I want Donovan back in the stadium. I don't know how you feel, but come today, I do not want Donovan back. I want Carson Wentz of 2017 back at Lincoln Financial Field today.
I don't mind Donovan McNabb back in the stadium, just not in the uniform. At least not at this point of his life. But
Yeah.
5 just love you, as he says.
Exactly. Tom says he hears us, and the other Facebook user, I'm assuming the Facebook user might be Shizzy. It might be him. I'm not too sure, but I'll give him credit. It might be him. Because of this comment saying that Wentz held the ball too long. So this might be Shizzy. If it is you, I'll give you the credit, but we'll see if it is you or not. But yeah, he did hold on to the ball too long. And again, the 8 sacks prove that when you can throw the ball away, you should have thrown the ball away. He had major issues last week with just holding on to the ball. And it was just as soon as after a game, it was basically, it starts with him. And I understand that same way with Jim Schwartz did not take any excuses or throw any of his defensive guys under the bus, because he said if it all falls back on someone, it falls back on him. So we'll see what the adjustments were from this week to last week. And Mike Sherman says, sorry to ruin the party, but more disasters coming today. Mike Sherman, once again, Eagles have won their last 6 against the Rams. That ends today. Eagles tend to struggle in week 2 games. Final score, Rams 27. I should have saved that to the very end. Rams 27, Eagles 17. But Mike, listen, again, I brought you up here not too long ago, but yeah, it was a tough swallow. Definitely a tough pill to swallow. But again, there could be adjustments that Carson could have made hopefully this week. I didn't get the chance, a lot of opportunity to see the practices on how they looked. So far, it seemed like Carson seemed more focused this week, a lot more connections. I did see that Jalen Hurts also took some reps. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe there is a trick play they're going to decide to do this week. But when we're looking at the stats from last week, and me scrolling down here for a second, you end up taking a look here. Carson Wentz, as we take a look here. So the pass try, this is from Next Gen Stats from the NFL. 24 for 42, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. And you can see where he's spreading it around the field. The 2 interceptions coming from the left side. But spreading the ball seemed like kind of well, and I see some short, some long passes. He had a 55-yard bomb, of course, to Jalen Reagor. And the other person I wasn't too impressed with, but again, he's a rookie, so I can't say too much, was John Hightower. And you and I talked about that last week during the halftime. I'm hoping that he took a lot more reps this week, got a lot more practice. And worst case scenario, maybe he can put on some Velcro gloves and some extra pads so he can hit across the middle, because you can't in the NFL not be afraid of getting hit. So by all means, I hope this week Hightower's a lot better.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, he looked very soft last week. He looked like he was afraid to go over the middle and take a hit. When he had that ball and possession of the ball, he heard footsteps and, as I said, looked like he got scared coming over the middle there. Maybe he should have alligator arms like Zach Ertz did in the fourth quarter, but these guys got to, come along and step up. I mean, you want to play in the NFL? Let's get the party started.
Exactly.
Show up.
Rookie mistake. 2 more comments. No, it's true. Yeah, and it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. I think this year, and I don't remember if I said it last week or not, so pardon me if I said it again, but I gave the Eagles a C grade for the season, and that might be giving them too much. But I gave the Eagles a C grade because it's the balanced chemistry they still have to find. The O-line obviously needs a lot of work. Jason Peters apparently, once again, I think give him a rest for this week, or he rested for majority of practice because his knees bothering him. So I don't know how much more Jason Peters has left in the tank. I think a lot of us had stated that he probably won't finish up the entire season. So if his knee is already bothering him, that is troubling. That is really troubling. Tom said, I think he had a mild concussion last week after all them sacks. Yeah, probably so. I seriously doubt it, but probably so. Take a look this as well. It says the Facebook user, it's going to be a Philly special kind of day. Go Birds. We do hope. I think it's going to be a big bounce back from last week.
I wonder who the Phantom is.
I know. I'm saying Shizzy. Maybe it's not, but it might be Shizzy. I'm not too sure. My sister, good morning, brother. And sis, I love you. Thank you so much. My sister is a New England Patriots fan. I don't hold it against her, as she knows. But thank you so much for watching the show as well. I know she was telling her friends that the ones who wanted to tune in. So I do appreciate the love, even from New England. But Yeah, your Patriots also, Cam Newton kind of surprised me last week, and we talked about that on the phone, but he did surprise me, and we may get into that a little bit later on. But Cam Newton did wonders for the Patriots to come back to them. So running the ball as usual, Cam Newton looking good for at least week 1. So we'll see what happens. Bill Belichick's just a beast. Everybody knows that. So good morning, Sid. I love you too. And let's take a look at Tom here.
Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett are active today.
Good. At least you got some more help. That's a good deal. Tom once again says shades of Ricky Waters. You want to handle that one?
I don't know if I would go that far. For who? For what?
We're not too sure.
Let's give a lot more credit to Zach Ertz for, his play over the years.
Yeah, let's just hope. But well, again, there's going to be a lot of ifs, ands, or buts when it comes to it. We'll be watching the games throughout, and of course, reporting back the stats at the half. We'll see how it all ends up playing out. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter this week. It seemed like, again, according to a lot of reports, reading a lot of articles up on this week with you got Brandon Lee, you got Elliot Shore-Parks. I mean, everybody was putting in the due diligence this week to see how the Eagles were doing. So the practice seemed to be very, very well. Jalen Hurts is active. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's not saying much on why he's active, but again, Carson was dealing with a minor injury come last week. So we'll see. Taking a look at another comment here. Hightower going over the middle. Yeah, Tom, and we talked about that a little while ago here, that he needs to, not only is going across as far as over the middle, he needs to read the ball a little bit more. Jalen Reagor also, remember, he had an out route, and he should have come back in last week. The safety ended up beating him to the ball, and of course that ended up being, I believe, the second interception for Carson Wentz last week. So same thing, Hightower, Reagor, they're going to have to both adjust to it, and it comes with the college roles of coming out the college ranks and coming into the NFL. So it's going to be quite interesting here. The one thing that I do want to show, more than anything, of course, this week, we know there's going to be absolutely no fans at Lincoln Financial Field. They may come back late in the season. The official announcement hasn't been done yet. Originally, there's going to be no fans in the stands whatsoever at Lincoln Financial Field, but that may change after November. I wonder why, but that may change after November. So we will see. The one video that I would love to show here that might get us just a little bit pumped up, there's 2 of them, but this one here was just added to the mix. So this should be quite interesting.
As we begin the 2020 season, the Saints and Eagles. But even if our fans aren't here with us in person on game day, we'll never lose sight of what Eagles football means to Philadelphia and Eagles everywhere. We know who we play for.
It's going to get very, very loud here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philadelphia Eagles! Well, as you watch the defense, they're really encouraging this crowd to get into it, and the crowd is following their lead. And they're the best fans in the world. When this team needs the crowd, they rise to the occasion. The crowd makes it very difficult for them to hear.
Tell you what, you got to get fired up. You really do need to get fired up. I've had the pleasure, just as you have, Mike, to be at the link. There's no other place like it. And last week describing the football college Washington team, whatever they're called again, even though we didn't lose to them, but I'm still going to brag about their goofy squad there. FedEx Field, anywhere else you go, basically in the NFL, I don't know, maybe the Rams New Stadium, or over in LA, or not LA, sorry, in Vegas. Maybe that's a whole different field, but there's nothing like the energy Lincoln Financial Field. And I hope maybe the pandemic crew will go across the street and make just as much noise, because I don't know what it looks like down there. Unfortunately, I do have on Fox 29, but I haven't gotten the chance to see if what it looks like as far as down there. But the energy's got to come today from everybody, from Xfinity Live, from what's the McDonald's. You got, the jug handle in from Nick's Roast Beef, where my co-host is out in Common Avenue. And thanks again for Nick's for allowing us to broadcast from there. But the energy level needs to come. It needs to come. They need to hear it. They need to feel it. And we've been dying for football down in Philly, because remember, the last time we played, the last time Eagles played, I shouldn't say we played, the last time the Eagles played, didn't have a good outcome. So we're hoping to erase that and start the season anew. And it starts, every week, a brand new week. So this week we can go 1-0. Obviously, it'll be 1-1 tied up, but we can go 1-0 with victory here. So it's going to be quite interesting, and I'm ready for it.
Oh, home field's really
also.
Home field's really not even a factor. Home field's really not even a factor at this point with no fans. That's straight across the NFL.
Yeah,
I know Cleveland has
you still
a good amount of people.
No, you still have to look at it, though. You still got to bring one way or the other. You and I know I'm home now, so I can make all the noise that I want to. Tampa Joe is the noise outranked me for the most part, but being home in the home studio, that I can make all the noise that I want to and jump around and do everything that I would normally do during game day.
Well, the players got to bring with the energy. No fans in the stands. They got to be up and pumped and ready to play their asses off. No doubt about it.
Correct.
With no 12th man at the link, it's null and void, really. It's basically an even field.
Right.
Neutral field. So.
No, that is true. I want to take a look here before we get into the injury update. And also, Shannon Sharp had a piece with Amy Campbell on Fox Bet Sports. It's a subsidiary of Fox Sports, but it was a nice interview, the piece that I put together. And I like what Shannon Sharp had to say, obviously, for the O-line. So he's got a good little message. Very short, very simple, but I like the interview that they both had with each other here. Jared Goff, if you look at his numbers, of course, I'm bringing this up from last week because we're playing them today. And again, I say we, but I mean the Philadelphia Eagles. If you look, he went 20 for 31, 275 yards. But the key thing there is a big old goose egg, no touchdowns. Not saying much for Carson Wentz, but at least Carson Wentz did throw for 2. So a big goose egg when it comes to Jared Goff. Of course, he relied solely on the running game. And speaking of the running game, you got, Malcolm Brown? 18 carries, 79 yards for 2 touchdowns. So he didn't even have over a 100-yard game, which goes to show you kind of and I know he wasn't the only running back on the field, but if that's our primary back, it's not bad for our defense to be able to stop him. We do have, right now, at the moment, seem like a pretty decent run-stop defense. So we'll see.
I believe Malcolm Brown had over 100 yards combined as far as rushing and receiving.
Right. But I was just, for that one, it was just as far as his yards, as a running back. So, he did score, I believe, was the game winner. I'm not too sure. I remember I go back and look at that one, but
it was the game winner.
The only scary side, again, all these stats brought to you by NFL Next Gen Stats. Looking at Boston Scott here, 9 carries, 35 yards. And I can't say any faster than that because exactly that's what it was. So, again, it's got to be balanced this week.
Well, you can't run Boston Scott. He's not, he's another Darren Sproles. Miles Sanders has to come in playing healthy and get the ball moving today. They got Wentz has to roll out, throw short passes, get out of that pocket and release, just, air it out a couple times. Just keep Aaron Donald contained. Hopefully the right side of that offense will step up and double team them. And like I said, Wentz just dump the ball off, short passes, screens, whatever you got to do. Move that ball on the offense side.
I will completely agree with that note. We're going to take a look here at the injury update according to what we just got on Friday here. This shows that you still have Alshon Jeffrey out with his foot, Jason Peters supposedly with his knee, Derek Barnett, hamstring, but you just said we were getting it back not too long ago? Mike?
Yeah, what's that? I'm sorry. You're going in and out.
Derek Barnett, did you say he was?
Oh, he's playing today. Him and
Okay.
Brandon Graham are both active.
All right, so we can take him, I guess, literally off the list here. But so you have Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, but you just mentioned that he also is coming back this week.
Javon Hargrave is supposed to be making his debut. That should be a big boost on that defensive line up front.
Right. And you also look at Miles Sanders, he's supposed to be back as well.
And so is Big Lane at right tackle. So let's get it going.
Yeah, it's gonna. Like I said, it can only get better from last week. If it gets worse, I mean, the fans. That's the one thing. The boos will not be far away from Lincoln Financial Field. So we know that if it doesn't work out too well, it's gonna be an interesting case here. Facebook user. Okay, I'm gonna go with maybe this is either Michelle down here at Tampa Joe's and or Mike Klein. So Facebook user, missing you and Debbie, I appreciate it. And we will be back there next week. She's getting better, so we will be back there next week. But I miss the folks down here at Tampa Joe's as well. I hope the house is packed. And again, thanks to Tampa Joe's coming on as a sponsor. We really do appreciate it. And I'll bring up the banner here shortly. Of course, the key things here that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to show the highlights first, and we're going to talk about what happened and what didn't happen throughout the game last week. We'll kind of do a little breakdown on that behalf. Also, after that, I'll end up showing the Amy Campbell and the interview with Shannon Sharp, which I thought was quite interesting. Shannon's still picking, I guess, the Eagles to still win the NFC East. I believe so. I don't think Dallas was what we saw last week, and which they still suck anyways, but I don't see what Dallas is going to do any different than they've done in years past. So to me, it's whomever, whatever. That's just the way I see it.
Couple big injuries on Dallas last week.
Correct.
Van Der Esch out with 8 weeks. Sean Lee doing his usual. I don't know why he don't retire. Lyle Collins still banged up on that offensive line.
Yeah, that is. Well, we're going to take a look here. We're going to run through the highlights, and there's probably some audio playing in the background, so we'll try to do a little pause and play here. This will be the first week for this, folks, so just have a little bit of patience just in case things go awry, because things happen when you go live. But breaking down here at least the first half of the game.
Graham with a big play. Here's Boston Scott in the backfield, fake to him. Wentz pumps, fires over the middle. He's got Goddard, the tight end, for a big game. And there is Dallas Goddard in Washington territory. So big.
I'm pausing there for a second. You have Dallas Goddard, who apparently got a lot more action last week, Mike, and we saw that over Zach Ertz. I'm not too sure why. I'm pretty sure it's got nothing to do as far as the contract talks. Maybe I know there was no injury that we know about either or unless they were just trying to fill Dallas Goddard more in on this offensive line. I'm not too sure, but we did see now Zach Ertz here at the end of the drive, ended up getting a touchdown. But it seemed like Dallas Goddard got more touches than Zach Ertz last week.
Oh, obviously, had the most receiving yards, on the team and, contract year. So, and the big rumor was Howie and Ertz having a blow up on, I don't know if it was before game time or sometime last week about his contract. So there obviously could be some dissension in that locker room as far as Zach Ertz, dogging that play last week. I mean, he should have had it in any other time. But as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. So we'll see today what comes of it.
On the first play, another play taken. Wentz has a lot of time and out. There's Deshaun Jackson. So 2 plays.
Speaking of, so Deshaun, and I'm going to see if I can't flip this on the screen here. Did I get his stats from last week? I had it up here. Now, here it is. So Deshaun Jackson, right? Again, this is provided by Next Gen Stats from the NFL. 2 receptions, 46 yards. Kind of ironic that Deshaun said that he was coming in completely healthy. Supposedly there was nothing wrong with him. When we spoke with Brandon Lee Gowton, he said he's probably looked the best ever. that he's ever looked. So it's kind of surprising that he apparently did grab his helmet and went into the tunnel. Now, it wasn't seen, but that's what was stated, because later on he grabbed his helmet again, of course, and was coming back out. So I'm not too sure what happened last week with Sean Jackson, but I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more. And there wasn't too much talk with him this week, as far from what I understand, of him being either injured, played with injuries, or wasn't coming in. So I don't know if they just took it easy on one, just get him acclimated. But again, we'll see, because Jonathan Hightower and Jalen Reagor need to make their adjustments. But that was one of the short passes that Sean had caught from last week.
Oh, and the rumor was, Sean only played 54% of the plays last week. And, it just makes me wonder, plus he was resting this week. I mean, when do you rest in the NFL in practice? Well, it's the NFL. But back in the old days, you'd be out there practicing.
So, it would be.
Obviously, there's something wrong with Deshaun, because another thing is, to me, why didn't he take the top off the defense and spread the field, which he does best? I mean, you didn't even see him really run a long route. The stretch.
Mostly all you kept seeing was him either right down the right side, and it was just a straight run. It wasn't – I don't want to say there's no such thing as a trick route, but I'm pretty sure going to be utilized a lot better. It just seemed like it was just a straight out route, no matter which way you looked at it. And I don't know if this something that him and Carson Wentz had discussed, but there wasn't even a short yardage route. Like you can pick up at least 5 to get your first down. You don't have to necessarily always go 15 yards plus. You can do if you're 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, something at least to keep the ball moving. And switch because you're running back involved as well. But last week, I don't know. Last week, look, coming out of the first quarter, it seemed like the Eagles were on cue, making the right calls, making the right plays, and then after about the 4th series, and then coming back out, it just seemed that things revert backwards. And obviously, that's when the Washington football team decided to come back. But I don't think it was well balanced.
Well, Wentz being sacked 8 times, and then throwing the ball like McNabb, overthrown, underthrown, him getting knocked around instead of throwing the damn ball out of bounds. He's, 13-yard loss and all this other stuff. I don't know what the hell is going on there with Doug and that offensive line and Wentz. But, like I said to you last night, Wentz goes up to the line and has the liberty to change the audible, which he really shouldn't have that much leeway. Right. In my case, I mean, like I said before, Adam Kaplan of Inside the Birds talked to John DeFilippo about a year or 2 ago after John DeFilippo left the Eagles, and he said Wentz is like Aaron Rodgers. He likes to do things his way. And obviously, you can't teach him. He's not going to last in the NFL that long if he keeps taking these hits.
Yeah, that is so true. We got Time stated that Deshaun played 54% of the plays last week. So, and that's what you just hit on before we started breaking down a little bit more. And then also follow up with rest of the week, play all day on Sunday. Well, let's hope that's the case, because right now it doesn't seem that way. But getting back to the highlights here, so we left off with D-Jack moving the ball down the field. And, of course, this would be finished up with the drive for the touchdown.
It's Jackson for another Philly first down. It's the other tight end. What an opening drive.
Actually looking at to the right. Just out
and that hasn't been a long time. By the way,
and of course, Eagles, just before we go a little bit too fast forward here, the second series with the Redskins, it seemed like Dwayne Haskins was going to obviously push the ball, which he did, or bring at least down the field. And then the Eagles' defensive squad started again pushing back, were able to not allow the Washington football team to be able to score on that drive. So the first 2 series, both on the offensive and defensive side, worked out really well. So this is still the first series defensively when the Birds were on the field.
Terry McLaurin, who on third.
Ron Rivera changed things up in the second half to let Haskins roll out. I mean, really, there wasn't no
Correct.
up front.
Washington shows it. They come with it. Gets rid of it. Does Wentz. It's a first down. So
And then
Washington
one of the shorter attributes that he had for Zach Ertz, but again, he was utilized, I guess, as well as he possibly could.
loads it up. Going deep down the field for Jalen Reagor. He's got it. A bomb to the rookie. Reagor.
Beautiful catch.
Now, if we can see that, right? If we can see that for the entire season, I would be a happy camper because that is a replacement to Deshaun Jackson. And I hope we can see that from Deshaun as well. But Jalen Reagor was the one guy that didn't seem to get a whole lot of talk. And if you remember when, of course, the extended non-NFL season due to COVID, but a lot of people, when they talk, say, well, he used the excuse that he didn't have a good quarterback. Well, maybe he had some truth to that because it seemed like with Carson Wentz, he seemed to connect. Minus the one mistake that you'll see later on in the highlight. But Jalen Reagor, to me, seemed explosive coming last week, especially coming out the first quarter. I don't know what you think, but as far as for me, that's what it seemed like.
I agree. I mean, that's what, they brought him in here to take the top off the defense, while Deshaun Jackson. I mean, it's, they need to, like I said, going back to Wentz last week, I think he was just trying to hit the home run too much and, not being on the same page with these guys as well. I mean, it's just going to take time to get used to these rookies. They're all being thrown into the fire. I mean, Deshaun's really your only veteran presence beside second-year man J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Goddard and Ertz. But, it's just going to have the cohesiveness has to be there. And, the offensive line has to give Wentz time to throw the ball. Hopefully it'll be a different thing today as far as shutting down the Rams' defensive line and containing Aaron Donald. Also, let's not forget about Jalen Ramsey. I mean, talk about a shutdown, probably one of the top 3 best shutdown corners in the NFL. Will he be on Reagor? Will he be on Deshaun? I heard the other day he possibly could be covering Zach Ertz. So maybe if Ertz can take him off his game, maybe Reagor or Deshaun will be able to spread the field. And hopefully Wentz will get the damn ball downfield without being hit or whatnot. Again, get the game going.
Let's hope. Because we need a major turn on this week. Moving on here with again, the second drive of the game.
Pump fakes in trouble. And the football is loose. And Philadelphia was there to recover with Kelsey hopping on it. Right down the middle. Washington over 3 on third down. Haskins gets away from it, has room to run, and will run for a first down with a flag from the secondary as well.
It's just Tom, he's always going to do that for us.
Haskins coming back to the Sims, gets a good spot. Room to run and a first down and more. Well done.
Those 2 plays there, that's what started standing out to me, where things might have been going a bit awry here. And that's the one thing, again, I'll keep saying that Carson Wentz stated that during practice, minus everything in a regular season, he said that seems to be the biggest problem. Now, could it have been, the old coordinator? I'm not saying, Jim Schwartz not putting in, again, calling the right plays, whether the corners were talking to each other. It may have been a lot of miscommunication, but it seemed at that point that they just made Dwayne Haskins good. And it was just, it seemed like boneheaded plays as far as when it came to defensive units. So that started making the turn that we might be looking to be in trouble. And it obviously showed by the half.
Well, I have a stat for you. Going into last week, the last 2 times Ron Rivera has beaten the Eagles. He beat them last week, and they lost to Carolina back. If you remember, they blew a 17-point lead back in October of 2018. So pretty much the same stagnant offense. Doug Peterson was putting out there then, not really making any adjustments from last week. So, like I said, Ron Rivera knowing Doug Peterson pretty well as far as knowing the West Coast offense, just knew how to beat him and outcoach him. So,
Yeah.
Ron,
So true.
Ron. So, I mean, also you got to hand it to Jack Del Rio too, because he might be one of the better head coaches in the NFL before, but he is a hell of a defensive coordinator. So Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio pretty much knowing the Eagles' offensive schemes in and out.
Hightower in stride, the rookie.
A penalty on Troy Apke.
Unnecessary roughness, use of helmet, number 30, defense.
Now, that play, of course, we noticed that was the use of helmet to get the ball out of there. But again, John Hightower, and I'm hoping we'll see better production out of him, but he needs to. Greg Ward also, because he had a couple that were also dropped, but just need to just read the ball a little bit better. And Carson Wentz needs to do a little bit better as far as communication. And of course, that was a touchdown to Dallas Goedert. But there needs to be that communication in between Rager, Hightower, and I guess for the most part Zach Ertz as well, because Zach Ertz is being utilized both ways as a tight end, obviously as a wide receiver.
Well, I think as far as Greg Ward, I mean, he's best in the slot where, just leave him be, because if you remember down the stretch, I mean, Carson Wentz's go-to man was Greg Ward besides Zach Ertz. And seemed like he was most comfortable throwing to Greg Ward last year. So hopefully, like I said, keeping him in the slot, and hopefully see what Deshaun and Jalen Reagor can do today along with Hightower.
We saw that one mistake there by Jalen Reagor that we had touched up on it earlier. When he should have read the ball just a little more to come back in. And, of course, it's hard as a fan when you're looking at it. It's a whole different story. But, again, it's one of those that he should just come back inside the route just a little bit more.
Over the middle, it's caught for the touchdown. Logan Thomas in Washington on the board.
Mike Sherman. How do you spell Del Rio?
Look it up in the dictionary, Rock.
No, 3 and out after a super strong start. As Wentz near side, and that is intercepted. And it's picked up by Moreland.
14 unanswered points right there.
Correct. And it started
with those 2 ducks he threw up.
Second down.
Yeah. There was a lot of, and again, a lot of the sacks, and as this continues to play on here, but a lot of the sacks came, unfortunately, it also comes to Carson Wentz as well, because you got to get rid of the ball. And like I said, things do happen because it is live. So I went to a little infomercial here because it's from the Lily YouTube site, which love to put ads in there. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that came in through, and it's a little bit on the ridiculous side, but Carson Wentz needs to learn how to throw that ball away. And here we go with more. Okay, so much for that there. I'll wait until the ads go away here, but it's a lot of it had to deal with, and maybe I can finally get rid of the ads here.
Oh, he does have to learn how to throw the ball away. I mean, you're taught this in Pop Warner. Like, don't take the loss for the sack, just throw the ball away.
Yeah. Which unfortunately it's not. That's his biggest Achilles heel for if he even use it in the right term. But I don't understand. It's and someone else did it not so long ago. I think it was last week. It was another game. Same way where the quarterback was holding on to the ball. I'm almost certain it was Jared Goff. They were holding on to the ball for a little too long. So maybe that'll be the benefit plus this week for the Eagles. As far as for Carson Wentz to let go of that ball, and Jared Goff maybe holding on to it just a little bit more, so the tide can be reversed here.
Here we go from 53. Elliott's got the leg. He's got the distance. Does he?
All right, Tom says that Doug Peterson's aggressive play calling cost him the game, and we've seen that time and time again.
I'll disagree there because I think Doug is not aggressive like he once was. I mean, when he had Frank Reich and John DeFilippo under him, Doug had brass balls. Let's just put it out all on the table. I mean, to me, if you go back to last year, the Seattle Seahawks, when they came in here against the Eagles, they pretty much knew all the damn plays. That's why they probably pretty much won the game. I mean, it just seems like to me Doug's play calling's predictable anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, anybody can disagree with me, but somebody,
No, but if you remember last week, yeah, you bring up a good point.
I mean, Doug, like I
You
said,
bring up a good point because
Doug used to have brass balls. I don't know what the hell happened to the guy, really. Like maybe he got too complacent. No Frank Reich. But let me say this, and I'll give Doug Peterson all the credit in the world, but I think Frank Reich was the driving force of that Super Bowl run. And I think he was the brains behind the operation, being the offensive coordinator. And anybody could agree, disagree. So be it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's true. Because if you look at it last year towards the very end of the season, there was a lot of the NFL analysts that were saying the same exact thing, that he did become quite predictable. And I don't know, because Doug coming in from the first season, I agree. I don't know what he's changed as far as his own format playing style, but could he do a better job? Of course he could, but I don't. I think it's trying too much.
I think Doug's
too
scared.
little.
Honestly, I think Doug's scared to put his foot on the gas. I don't know. Maybe you got one.
Not, but I mean.
Well, you got Marty Morningwig in there now as a consultant. You got Rich Scar and Dino, who they brought in from Denver / San Francisco as an offensive, what do you call it, guru. And to me, it seems like you kind of have too many cooks in the kitchen with this offense. Press Taylor, who's supposed to be the quarterback's coach, I mean, he gives his input to Doug as well. So do you have too many cooks in the kitchen? Who the hell knows? But I mean, you got two consultants. You got Press Taylor. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you can answer it, because I don't know if I have the answers. I'm just going by, all the stuff I soak up like a sponge. But
no, but I don't think I agree with you, Mike, because I don't think there is a definitive answer, unfortunately. I don't know what changed with Doug. I don't know if it's just one of those things that he decided to maybe protect the line. I think it really, truthfully, you look at it going back at the last season, look at preseason last year. So they went with this whole thing the Rams did, the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost. But so I guess he tried to use the Sean McVay route, where Sean McVay didn't use a lot of his starters to try and keep them healthy as the season progressed. So we saw that last year with Doug Peterson, and it turned out to be disastrous, because look at all the injuries that we had from week 1 all the way up to week 17, week 16. So, and including with Carson Wentz, obviously in a playoff there. I mean, Carson Wentz, but not his fault. But Zach Ertz getting hit in the ribs, what was it, week 15, if I remember correctly? When he threw the ball up high, which pretty much hurt, Zach coming into the playoffs. So
right.
If you look, it pretty much started from there. And it just seemed like I don't know if he just lost that fire. He says he hasn't. But it seems like there was a disconnect in between preseason last year throughout the entire regular season, and then we start the season anew this year, and it's the same exact thing. Of course, it does hurt with the whole COVID nonsense. It does hurt because everything that you normally would end up doing, you had many more weeks to prepare for. So now it's like you're playing, yes, week 2 of the NFL, but it's almost like you're also playing a combo of week 2 of the preseason.
Exactly. As I've been preaching, no OTAs, no mini camps, no preseason. I mean, you really don't know what the hell you really got with all these rookies. I mean, these guys are learning hands-on as they go along. Thanks to this COVID bullshit.
Correct.
Excuse my language.
No, but it's true. Mike says, what's the update with Freeman, Mike? You have talked about the Eagles signing him for weeks.
Well, they're giving him a tryout this week, and from Elliott Shore Parks, he believes that they're about 70% they are going to sign him. Because Miles Sanders, with a hamstring, I'm afraid to say this, but I think that injury is going to hamper him all year. A
I think
hamstring.
so. I agree.
I mean, how the hell you expect the guy to run full steam when, you know, they do need a big back? Owl the Garrett Blunt from the Super Bowl year, Jordan Howard last year. But, you know, like I said, Boston Scott's a nice complimentary guy, but you can't keep pounding him. Corey Clement, he just, I like the guy's heart, but the guy can't stay healthy. To me, it's like, why is he on this team? I mean, hopefully I hope I'm wrong. He'll stay healthy and get that same form back from 2017. But this guy's had injury after injury the last 2.5 years.
But then maybe he'll stay just as healthy as Jason Peters. Who knows? I mean, they have something.
He's got Jason Peters supposedly has something wrong with his right knee this week in practice. Really wasn't out there as big news, but we'll see how many snaps he takes off today. Collecting that $5 million extra that Lane Johnson redid his deal with. You know what? After this year, I'm done with the Peters experiment. Thanks for the memories, my man. Take care. Well, hopefully you can survive another goddamn 14 weeks, 15 after today.
If he does, I think that's exactly what it's been. In one, you know, the Eagles know, they already know. I mean, and again, we've talked about this since episode 1. It's just the salary cap. Howie, again, it's this offseason will be the biggest offseason probably in Eagles history because again, you're going to have to work a lot of magic with about $2 left in the wallet. But again, here the Pat Coyle's coming. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So again, Pat Coyle's coming. Pat Coyle, that's my boy back home from Philly. We did a lot of Phillies work together. Awesome individual. Let's get it today, boys. Glove sucks. We need immediate offense and our D to shut down early and often. So true. So true, but I don't know. I'm dying for the game to get started. Don't get me wrong, because I want to see how much we've adjusted. And again, not we, but the Eagles, how much the Eagles have adjusted from last week to this week, playing the actual college team that decided to play like a somewhat NFL team by the end of the game, and we're actually playing an NFL team this week. So I don't know. I don't get too fired up, but it is what it is for the moment.
An NFL team with a name, you mean? Not just a football team.
Yeah, it's all right, though. Well, I think there's more fallout coming by the net football team, so just stay tuned on that one there, DC, because you guys got a lot of stuff going on down there. 2 mentions, though, real quick before we show the actual clip from Amy Campbell and Shannon Sharpe. Again, that was from Fox Bets, a subsidiary of Fox Sports. But 2 people I want to say thank you to. One, again, to Nick's Roast Beef for allowing my co-host to be out there broadcasting Nick's Roast Beef. This week, if you guys want to go out there before the end of the game, there's 2 locations, one in Woodhaven Road, and this week, Mikey is over on Cotman Avenue. So if you guys want to go out there and make it out there, we would greatly appreciate it. And again, thanks to Tampa Joe's and everyone who's down there at Tampa Joe's, and I hope they're making a lot of noise. And I wish I had a camera at this point to see what was going on there and hear what's going on, because I'm pretty sure everyone's getting fired up. You know, Mike Klein, president and CEO of Philly to South Fan Eagles Club. I mean, it's just so much fun down there. So thank you to Tampa Joe's, the official sponsor of Broad Street South Sports Talk. And he's got a bunch of new restaurants he's opening up. So my stomach is probably going to get like this big because he's got tons of places on. So Mike Owen, again, thank you so much for coming on as a sponsor. We really do appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get in the works maybe for a couple more, but we'll see. I never want to hype up the train too much without things happening. Well, we do appreciate Mike Owen coming on. We really do thank him a lot. So getting back to here, to the Eagles and what they were last week. So you have Amy Campbell, who decided to do the interviews, who decided to do the interview with Shannon Sharpe. I thought it was pretty good. Shannon kind of, brought some good points. After Shannon Sharpe, I also want to, after that discussion, I also want to do the week 1 of Doug and what he thought, what the week was and wasn't. And that's where I got the mishap from, because that's exactly what it was, a mishap week. So here is the interview with Amy Campbell and Shannon Sharpe.
Welcome to Eagles Edge, our new weekly segment in our partnership with Fox Bet. I'm Amy Campbell, coming to you from the Fox Bet Lounge here at Lincoln Financial Field. And each week we will be breaking down the Eagles' upcoming matchup with Fox analysts. This week, the Rams are coming to Philadelphia for the Eagles' home opener, and I have the pleasure of being joined by a three-time Super Bowl champion, an NFL Hall of Famer, Shannon Sharpe, host of Skip and Shannon Undisputed every morning on FS1. Shannon, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's start with the NFC East. According to Fox Bet, fans are still picking the Eagles to win the NFC East despite losing to Washington in the season opener, perhaps because Dallas also lost their season opener to the Rams. Where do you think the Eagles stand in the division? Do the fans have it right?
Man, I picked the Eagles also to win the division, but I didn't like what I saw. They got to do a better job of protecting Carson Wentz. Now, I believe Lane Johnson is going to come back at some point in time, but you cannot allow your quarterback to get sacked 8 times, and you cannot allow the quarterback to take 14 hits. Now, guess who's coming to town this week? Aaron Donald, one of the premier players in all of football, the best defensive player in football.
All right, so these are two quarterbacks that will forever be tied to each other. Jared Goff and Carson Wentz being in the same draft class, both being the number 1 and the number 2 overall pick. Their stories, their careers will be tied together forever. Now both going into their 5th years in the league. How do you see the growth of these two, and how do you compare them?
Well, I think it's great that they both have 2 offensive-minded head coaches. Both coaches are very innovative and do a great job of trying to play to the quarterback skill set. If you look at what Sean McVay did Sunday, the problem was Jared was holding on to the ball too long. So he made a conscious effort to call routes to get the ball out of his hands quick. And I think that's what Doug Peterson's going to have to do. Instead of sometimes going all this scat protection, when your offensive line is not able to hold up, do something to get the ball out of his hand quick, or you have to max or leave a tight end in or leave a running back in so the offensive line have some help so he feels secure. You don't want him to get antsy.
Well, and that's a tough schedule that the Eagles have, and let me highlight the stretch that I think could be most concerning. Starting in Week 12, welcoming Seattle, Russell Wilson has never lost to the Eagles. Then they're on the road at Green Bay, where they won last year early in the season, but Aaron Rodgers in December is 19-3 at Lambeau, and then they're going to be welcoming a Saints team that was 7-1 on the road last season. Then they go across the country to Arizona, and then at Dallas, where the division could be on the line there as well. So definitely going to be a tough stretch down the road. Let's now look at this week's matchup. According to Fox Bet, 57% of fans are thinking the Rams are going to come out on top. The Eagles have a 6-game win streak against the Rams. Don't know if that really even matters in this conversation. What do you think the key for the Eagles is against LA?
The key for the Eagles is protect Wentz and protect the football. The Rams will generate a lot of pressure. If you notice, they got a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott. They took him down a couple of times. Aaron Donald is the premier player in all of football from the defensive side. And so you're going to have to find a way to neutralize him. And then in the process of neutralizing him, you're going to have to deal with blockers. And they have some edge rushers that can get after your quarterback. Jalen Ramsey on the back end, their secondary, with the exception of Ramsey, doesn't get a whole lot of credit. But they're better than I thought. I like what I saw from them this past weekend against Dallas, knowing that Dallas has a 3 guys. They go Coop, they go Gallup, they go CeeDee Lamb, who they took in the first round. So, and I thought they did a good job of neutralizing those guys. And so that's going to be the biggest key for the Eagles. Can they protect Wentz? And can they run the football?
All right, anything else that people need to know about this weekend's matchup?
Well, you can double your money, Eagles score, if you're a Pennsylvania or New Jersey resident. Fox Bet is giving you an amazing opportunity to win some easy money. I do believe the Eagles will score, and so hopefully if you're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, you bet that the Eagles score so you can double your money.
All right, good stuff there from our partnership with Fox Bet. Shannon Sharpe, thank you so much for joining us this week for Eagles Edge.
Thanks for having me on. Good luck this week.
Josh, he's Shannon Sharpe, right? Talked about protecting Carson Wentz. We've been talking about it since the show has started here today. And again, thank you to everyone who's been tuning in to us. We really do appreciate it as we try to do our best to compete with the other networks, but we, of course, like to put the spin ourselves on new and fresh content. But again, Shannon Sharpe made a good case about protecting Carson Wentz. And we're going to see it today. We're going to see how much this O-line is actually going to step up, because I don't know how much more different as far as an adjustment can we make with what we have. And unless we just start looking for fans in the stands that we don't have, since they don't have them, maybe we can just, I don't know, use them, utilize them, put them out there in the field. But we're going to see exactly how this is going to end up playing out today.
Yes, we will. I mean, Nate Herbig playing right tackle, big lane back. Flea Peters want to have a beer and a sandwich and take off and play here or two, whatever he does. If he's a factor, hopefully he will. Protect the ball and get the running game. Just come out and drive down the field early. I mean, Aaron Donald, shut him down, double team him.
That's
have to.
That's what we hope for. Well, that's what we're hoping for. But there's a couple little clips here that I want to show, and at least so everyone else can hear and share along with us here. One is with Jack Driscoll. Of course, he was hurt last week. We saw him come out of the game going. I believe he is coming back again this week. So, a few comments here from Jack Driscoll and a couple of other players.
We came out, started fast. We preached that all offseason. We just didn't finish and close the way that we have in the past and the way that we expect to. So put that behind us, moving on to the Rams, and I'm looking forward to getting a win this upcoming Sunday.
I'm good physically to start, and it's a good experience, first NFL game and whatnot. But, ultimately I thought, I did a few things well, but I need to continue to improve on all aspects of my game. And, unfortunately, wasn't the outcome we wanted, and it's frustrating for everyone. And we'll get back to the drawing board and get ready for this weekend.
I mean, the morale of this team, it's a lot of resilient guys around this building. So nobody's walking around down, and it's one game, so we have to prepare. We're gonna let one game define us. Then, what are we here for? So, I'm glad to be in an organization, a program like this, where these guys are very resilient. And like Coach Doug says, we're stronger together. So we can't fall apart. We can't blame each other. We lose as a team. We win as a team.
At the end of the day, all these guys could go down at any one play right there. And we'll just have the next guy step up and go in. We're confident. We got contingency plans. In that game, Cravon LeBlanc came in for us and played a bunch of his snaps. We'll just see who we have available to us, and then we'll put the best 11 out there.
It's early. Obviously, a new defensive coordinator, first-time coordinator who, obviously they get the win, and they're talented on defense. They play an up-tempo style of offense. Everything's pretty much at the line of scrimmage. Goff is very efficient. And then the ability to run the football obviously keeps them on the field. And so it's a challenge again for us. We get to open up our season here at home, obviously now, our first home game. So we're excited about that. But this is a good football team. They've been in the postseason. They've been all the way to the Super Bowl. So it's a well-coached team, and it's a team that we got to be prepared for.
There's a lot of great points being made there. From everyone. You can tell there's a lot of sincerity with what happened last week compared to what's going to happen hopefully this week, which we hope will be a W, so we can go 1-0 for this week, 1-1 for the season, of course, because every week we reset it, we try and do it all over again. And of course, in between this, we're going to have travel dates, which that also may end up hurting the Eagles, because I believe we make a trip to the West Coast twice this year, and there's no laying over, no nothing else, and so that may be a task within itself. Dallas Goedert also, obviously, again, we talking about him earlier. He also has some good audibles from Dave Spadaro, and a lot of these clips, of course, thanks to the Eagles organization for putting it out there. So share it, and everyone else can become just educated when it comes to the Eagles. But Dallas Goedert had, he was, I guess you can call it, mic'd up. And here's a clip from Dallas.
I love football. I love ball. Hey, give me time, Jalen. You see, we can buy cardboard cutouts. You can put Julie front row. Like a sprained ankle, boy, I ain't nothing to play with. You want to take the 2 or you want to take the 5? I don't know. You want to block Zoe Osman? Hey guys, 6 feet. 6 feet. Appreciate it. Let's go. That's what I like to hear. You need to drink more water, Carson. With your added weight, that's an extra like 20 ounces a day we need. It's like now that you two have to be social distance, it's like I get a little bit more time with my friend. I'm just so good at geometry and physics. Great. Way to hang in there, Opeta. Oh! I told you I like this kid.
All I know is he was hanging up there. I love football.
Yeah. So I thought that was to me at least quite interesting. But at least I thought. I like when they're able to put stuff like together, and especially when you're talking about with Dave Spadaro, who's been with the Eagles organization for quite some time now, and it seems like these guys, depending on who they're talking to, as far as within the media, they have a good chemistry with some reporters, some they don't. But I like when they're able to put clips like that together. So it goes to show that, yes, obviously the Eagles mean business, just like any other NFL team. But I like how the Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz experiment has been working out. And it seems like they both really like playing side by side with each other. I don't know how you feel, Mike, but at least from my own opinion, that's what it seems like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look back when when Zach Ertz saw Dallas Goedert get drafted, what's going through his mind. Obviously, like when Zach Ertz got drafted, what was Brent Celek thinking? Kind of like, a new guy coming in, is he going to take my job within the next couple of years? And also, so I think Brent Celek was very classy, took Zach Ertz under his wing and, told him everything, build that great rapport to pass it down, and I'm sure Zach Ertz is doing the same thing with Dallas Goedert. Goedert being in his third year, and Zach Ertz been in the league since 2013. So, I think they got a great rapport. I think they're the best tight end tandem in football, if not one of the best. And, what's it going to come down to? Is Ertz going to get – I think Zach Ertz will be re-upped after having 2 years left on his deal. Once all this mishap of the salary cap is situated, and a couple of guys are probably going to be taking pay cuts. Brandon Graham, I think Brandon Graham will take a pay cut to stay here rather than be cut. Fletcher Cox almost. I mean, you might as well say Brandon Brooks, since he just got re-upped last year, 3 injuries in the last 2 years. He should take a pay cut. I mean, who the hell's to say Lane don't take another one? I mean, first guy I would ask to take a pay cut is Carson Wentz. Why not? You got all $130 guaranteed. And if you want your security blanket here, then give back some money and get Ertz re-upped here. And, let's get it going. I think the dead money next year, I think Alshon will be gone. I think Deshaun probably, that's like $30 million right off the cap for next season.
Right.
Game, you'll like to see Deshaun retire as an Eagle, but, the jury's out about his injuries. Is he hurt? I guess we'll see in another 26 minutes at kickoff. So, there's a lot of questions to be had, but we're in week 2. Getting back into the game, going back to last week, a guy I don't think really got a lot of credit for was Darius Slay. I think he played Terry McLaurin pretty good. He held him down to like 60 yards. I mean, to me, the secondary played awesome last week.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
can tell you.
like Jay, it's what's the word? It's a bunch of new guys all put together. Will Parks, Jalen Mills moving to safety, Rodney McLeod, Vontae Maddox played solid. So reamped. Everybody looked good last week. Secondary.
I think so, and I agree. Darius Slay didn't get a whole lot of talk as far as this. At least I didn't hear much from it, and I think also too with Jalen Mills, as you just touched up on here a second ago, you have to be the voice. And there was a question that I heard earlier today. Someone asking Doug Peterson, or it might have been actually earlier this week, or no, sorry, it was Jim Schwartz. They made a reference, and I was trying to find a clip, but unfortunately, I for whatever reason it's not coming up. But with Jim Schwartz. So he was asked why, if not as far as like looking for an excuse and why does defense didn't do things well, but almost like that, if Malcolm Jenkins was here, what would have Malcolm done? And basically Jim Schwartz, without throwing again anyone on the bus, he politely said that Malcolm Jenkins is no longer a Philadelphia Eagle, so we can't say what Malcolm Jenkins would have done. But, and of course he went out with the rest of the comment, here's what we could have done. Jalen Mills, if you're going to take over those leadership shoes for Malcolm Jenkins, and no one will ever fill the shoes of Brian Dawkins. But if you're going to be the next guy up, you need to be a voice on that defensive squad. You need to be in their face. You need to be in their ear. You need to be telling them, like going over those plays, doing whatever it takes to get that line as good as we've seen beforehand. So, and whether things were happening, because, obviously sometimes we get to see a lot more with the different camera angles compared to what we got to see on this very first game. But I think Jalen Mills, I applaud him for moving over. I just hope he does become this captain that the Eagles believe that he can be. But yeah, there is a lot of new moving pieces. There's going to be some adjustments for obvious reasons because we're still trying to put this team together. We're hopefully maybe by week 6, who knows? Maybe when we get into a 5-0 win streak. I have no idea, but it's going to be a tough schedule. The back end of our schedule, of the Eagles schedule, is going to be extremely tough because we have a late bye week, which is really good for us, only because if there's any injuries, hopefully those guys can come back by the time the bye week is finished. That's a definite plus when it comes to the Eagles, but there's going to be more than enough adjustments when it comes to this defensive squad, and we just hope it keeps getting better week after week. And I could be wrong, but I don't know. Leading into that, I want to put the recap here. Well, one was the update, I believe, was for Thursday night. There was some Eagles updates, some little bit of Eagles news. So it'll be some of the news update, Doug Peterson, and we'll keep moving from there.
Yeah, he's getting closer. Not gonna put a timetable on it. We're gonna get him back when we get him back, and look, when we do get him back, I mean, he's he has missed some time, but at the same time, we're gonna put him right in there, and he'll be ready to go, and he'll help our defense. So Lane and Miles will definitely get some practice time today, and see where they're at, at the end of today. And as far as the game goes on Sunday, we've got some time. We're optimistic that Lane can play, and if not, then Jack Driscoll gets another opportunity to start.
No, personally, it felt great to be back out there. It's one of those things. When it got to the fourth quarter, I stopped and I was like, dang, I'm not even worried about stats or tackles or sacks. Like, I'm just out here just having a good time, just like a kid again. So it felt really good, and I didn't think about the foot at all, so I was just very happy.
As far as milestones, I mean, getting drafted for one, first round is a milestone. That's a dream. That's every kid's dream. And then to have a role, a nice role in an organization like this, then step in the building and being thrown into the the offense, like, hey, we want you to play here, we want you to play here. It's like those are all milestones. And I wouldn't say I'm advanced because I just got here, but I have a lot of work to do. But I also know my ceiling is very, very, very high. So as long as I work hard and keep doing what I got to do, man, it's gonna be great.
We're telling the injury update. What's that?
In case you missed it.
Yeah.
Spanish.
So in case you did, we brought it back. So again, thanks to the Eagles, because a lot of this stuff, of course, is a public domain because we are Eagles fanatics. We love to bring the content in case you guys missed it during the week, because we all have work and daycare and all the good fun stuff to do. And so if you guys missed it, we like to bring it throughout the week just so you guys can see how much we connect with our birds. So again, no fans this week over there at Lincoln Financial Field. I think the Eagles will do just well coming this game. Mike Sherman once again says that, the winning streak against the Rams stops here. We hope not. There's one piece, though, that I would like to show, and this was two parts. One is because they love that Fuji has for Brian Dawkins as much as I do. It's something the Eagles had put together, and I just thought this was just a fitting piece, and it'll lead up to who wanted more here at the very end. But I thought this was very, very classy what the Eagles end up doing, especially come to Brian Dawkins.
When people think of Lincoln Financial Field, the home of the Philadelphia Eagles,
I think Lincoln Financial Field is the heartbeat of the city.
It just brings back a lot of great feelings, a lot of memories of not only playing, but coaching in that stadium.
My most memorable memory of the Link is the Atlanta game. The energy in that stadium was unbelievable. It was freezing that day, and I'm pretty sure the fans were even colder than we were, and they still brought that energy. And so after we won that game, they're crying, we're crying, they're hugging one another, hugging our families, saying we did it.
My most memorable moment as an Eagle at Lincoln Financial Field has to be in 2017, the championship game. I just remember the excitement in the stadium was full at kickoff. It was electric, it was loud, it was crazy.
Probably my favorite moment at Lincoln Financial Field was the snow game. Coming in and pregame warm-up, and it was snowing a little bit, so I was expecting a tiny bit, probably 30 minutes before kickoff. A blizzard came, and when we scored, I slid in and made a couple snow angels. I think it was my first snow angel ever, so, to be doing it in full pads was pretty cool.
I'm glad I was home for that snow game, because I still remember that like it happened yesterday with Shady.
I happened to fortunately be at all three games, both championship games and the snow game. Remember that snow game tailgate, and it was like supposed to flurry, and then all of a sudden it just skies opened up. The Atlanta game, that was cold as all hell. That was one game you couldn't even drink it. You didn't have to. I mean, being at the top of the link, sitting up there in 218, it was, Christ, somebody bought a beer, and by the time they got to the top of the steps, the damn thing was frozen. Minnesota game when Patrick Robinson picked off that pass from Case Keenum and took it back, the game was over. The momentum shifted, and the Birds went on to win Big 52.
Yeah.
Like it was yesterday.
That I'll see if I can get the video clips that I had that I recorded when I went to the NFC Championship game. And that was thanks in part, and I'll always be forever dedicated to both of these guys, John Barchert and Jimmy Seltzer, who surprised myself, and Brian Coulter, who is attached to the Go Birds. Right. So at the end of the show, we're at the warehouse across the street here at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm ready to go to Xfinity Live to catch the game, just because I want to be there close to the action. And I got surprised with the tickets, and I'll have to post the pictures up there. Again, I'll be up there for next week. Brian and I were like two kids. Like, we were just giddy. Like, oh, we got tickets. We're going to the game. And the whole entire time we were going up to the club suite. So as we're walking in, and for those who know me, I like to goof around a lot, but as we're walking in, we're just looking like, hey, do you have tickets to get the suite? No, your line is that way. But it's because you had that moment to brag and just have fun. But I do, again, remember that, and the energy in that place was beyond ridiculous. And I've been fortunate to be at both switching sides across the street of the Phillies World Series championships, and I know exactly how it felt for me when I was 10 years old when they won the first one. And, of course, fast forward, down for the second one. But, again, it was just the energy at Lincoln Financial Field is like no other place ever, other than maybe close second will be down there in Baltimore with the Ravens because those guys they can get energized over there at Ravens Stadium. And my boy Chris, of course, he'll be watching the Ravens game later on. My sister, who I thanked earlier, Cam Newton, who did an exceptional, game for Bill Belichick last week with the Patriots. So a lot of stuff going on around, of course, the NFL. We didn't get around to it a whole bunch, but I know George Kittle also, he's hurt. Apparently he's inactive for the 49ers. So there's some little injuries coming up this week. Some good games, of course, coming up as well. No one can forget that, obviously, the big game of the week for us, Birds-Rams, and we hope that the Eagles come out on top. But we're going to show a Doug recap of week 1 and what he had to say. And then we'll get ready to go into the Eagles kickoff, and we'll show it again. There's a video that's going to say who wants to know. So here's Doug, first and foremost, talking about the week 1 recap.
For me, it's kind of the tale of two halves. I thought we did some really good things to start this football game. It's what I've been talking to our team about, starting fast. And, an area that we struggled as an offense was scoring, first quarter scoring a year ago. And we got out to a fast start and scored on 3 of our first 4 possessions. And defensively, up until that turnover, really kept them at bay and pitching a shutout. And then the second half, the momentum kind of shifted a little bit, and offensively, we didn't do enough on first down to stay ahead of the chain, so to speak, and kept ourselves in second down and third down and long situations, which are hard to overcome. And then defensively, just not being able to get off the field like we were in the first half. And then there were some little critical errors in there. Obviously the turnovers are big errors, but, some substitution issues on defense. And then, Cam didn't have a very good punt, kind of backed up. It kind of went off the side of his foot. And it was just those types of things that just kind of crept into, the game in the second half that kind of turned things to Washington's favor. Vinny and Craig James, both significant injuries, are going to miss some time here the next couple of weeks. So don't anticipate either one of those back. On Miles and Lane and some of the other guys, Derek Barnett, we're gonna increase their practice time this week. We're gonna see as the week goes on, where they are, and hopefully they'll be available for the game on Sunday. But again, it's kind of day by day with those guys. Obviously, he's a big part of the offense, but at the same time, we want to make sure that he's a guy that's healthy and fresh for us down the long haul here. And I think each week, I would anticipate his rep count to increase as we go. And we're going to be smart with him, but we also know that he's an explosive receiver for us, and we want to get him on the field as much as possible moving forward.
And you could see, this is going to end up being a post. Ronald Darby already opens up to the field. He should be in position to be able to run with this post. But this little nuance that Jalen Reagor does here at the top of the route is what allows him to break wide open. Because instead of him just running straight and then breaking to the post, he's actually, and it's very, very subtle, just watch his body language, he is going to just widen the corner just a little bit, as if he's going to be running a fade down the sideline, potentially a deep out route, maybe a comeback route. And now Darby is going to flip his hips to try and defend against one of those 3 routes. He doesn't know where Reagor's going, but his body language is about to come up here at the next couple of steps. And we'll let this play. Watch him just affect that corner. You're going to see how he's able, right there, bam. And then he breaks to the post. The rest is history. Outstanding ball tracking ability, looking the ball in over the shoulder, 55 yards. Carson Wentz to Jalen Reagor, sets up a field goal by Jake Elliott.
In case you missed it again, so there, Mike.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, there you have it.
Exactly.
In case you missed.
It was. I like the recap. Like what Doug said again, he wasn't trying to throw, I guess, shade being a new word here that everyone's using for 2020, but he wasn't trying to say that. Obviously, you can tell he didn't take a lot of blame. The same way Carson Wentz did. I'm just hoping that doesn't rear its ugly head again coming this week. But I don't know. We're getting ready for the matchup. To my left here, I'm watching the Dallas for the Atlanta Falcons game. So hopefully Atlanta will take care of business when it comes to Dallas again. Finishing up here, we got one more video to show, and it's just to get everyone hyped up because today definitely starts with who wants it more. But just to thank again, Nick's Roast Beef out there in the greater Northeast. 2 locations, one on Waterhaven Road, the other on Common Avenue. Again, that's where Mike is broadcasting today. So if you guys want to catch him at the half, say hello, come join him down there at Nick's Roast Beef. We would appreciate if you do so. And of course, the official sponsor of Broad Street South Sports Talk is Champa Joe's, Mike Goodwin, and his crew. Thank you so much again for coming aboard last week. We really do appreciate it for being our first major sponsor of the show. So, well, we're going to leave it with, and we'll come back, of course, quickly after this. But again, it's going to come down to, folks, who wanted more today, the Birds or the Rams? So maybe this will get you just a tad bit fired up. We shall see. Again, right? It comes down to, once again, who wants it more? And speaking of who wants it more, Mike, your prediction.
Going Eagles. Going Eagles 23-21. Less than a field goal.
Ooh, I will take it just a little bit, maybe not somewhat closer, but I'm going 21-17 Birds. I think it may not be too much of a high-scoring power offense today, but I think they actually get the job done. So that's where I'm leaving that one. For everyone else, again, who really appreciate, especially for everyone who tuned in last week. Because, of course, without saying, we're looking at, anywhere from the NFL Network to ESPN and all those major networks out there that we're competing to see your viewership. So hopefully you guys do enjoy the content. You guys do enjoy the show. Please tell your friends, follow, like us, on Facebook, on Twitter. The handle, Broad Street South Sports Talk. If you guys want to email us, we say it every week, whether it's a comment, some of you guys would like to see added on, let us know at Broad Street South Sports Talk at gmail.com. And the street is hyphenated, so it's just ST, Broad ST South Sports Talk at gmail.com. So once again, Mike, we will see. We'll see everybody here back at halftime. Again, we appreciate all the comments. Pat, Tom, Mike, my sister, I love you very much. My producer, Debbie, who I love as well, is trying to get her heel, her foot healed. So hopefully that'll be something, the good production throughout the week here. But thank everyone once again for viewing, for being here with us. We will see you back at the half. Mike, any words?
Yeah, I'd like to, thank all the Eagles pages, Maria, Kathleen, Rich, Mike, Tom, Sean, for all the support and love. Everybody at Tampa Joe's, Mike Klein and the crew. Thank you, and thank you for sticking by us. And sky's the limit for us for Broad Street South Sports Talk. Go Birds.
Exactly. Go Birds.
23-21 Eagles. Let's go.
Let's hope the Mike show this time is actually wrong this week. So let's hope. Again, we will see you guys at the half. Go Birds. Let's get it done this week. We appreciate everyone. Thank you.